Senator has the floor.
One thing that we've not discussed, and I found an old article I wrote back about the beginning of the session, and it was revealed to us in the press that there were 11,000 voters that registered during the last election through a system paid for by the Obama campaign. They paid about $25,000, and they had the help of the Democrat appointee to the State Board of Elections, who thankfully has since been replaced. 11,000 votes possibly came in through the people that registered through all points. Let me tell you how this worked. People went online with their cell phone, their smartphone, or their computer, and they were able to take their finger and sign a voter registration card and mail it in. When these started showing up at the Board of Elections around the counties, a large number of them came in right after training. And a number of the county Board of Election members called the State Board of Election and said, "What's going on? We got all these cards and they look like they were signed by exactly the same person." According to Mr. Bartlett and his counsel at the time, and only one member of the State Board of Elections, the other four didn't know about it until about the time we found out about it after the election. They were told, "Oh no, you can take those." But wait a minute, we just went through election training and we were told you can't take computer online registration in our state. There's a lot of problems with that, and we know who these people are. No, it's okay, it's been approved. That's 11,000 right there that we caught after the fact. How could that have been stopped? Well, it's something called photo voter ID, which 30 states have in the United States. Almost every other state here in the South has it. And the Democrats sure don't want it. And they're using the same talking points that were used in Georgia back in 2005. Voter suppression, Jim Crow era, going to reduce the vote. And we've seen from Georgia that it's not done that at all. And we've even seen polls done by Elon College recently on how many North Carolinians think it's reasonable to have to show an ID when you go into the election booth. 72% of North Carolinians, over half the Democrats in our state polled, said they'd like it. And the people, when they were polled, 97% of those stated they already had an acceptable form of ID. Now, folks, those of you who were here last time, you remember when we passed this bill. We passed it. Went to Governor Perdue. What did she do? She vetoed it. And do you guys remember the same night after she vetoed our bill, she had a party at the governor's mansion. Guess what you had to have in order to go in? A photo ID. It's not a constitutional right to see Beverly Perdue. It is a constitutional right to vote. And to reasonably expect people to identify themselves is not ridiculous. It's reasonable. It's what the people agree on. And it's what we should do. And I just wonder why the other party is so against making sure that legal, authorized North Carolinians are voting. That's a question we should all ask, because they sure are fighting us awfully hard on what the large majority of North Carolinians believe in. Think about it, folks. What's reasonable? What do the people want? And why do all these Democrat politicians not want it? I wonder. I just wonder.
Mr. President.
Senator Suchek, for what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Yesterday we heard Senator... I'll speak on the bill, I'm sorry.
You have the floor.
Yesterday we heard Senator Nesbitt say he couldn't find anything that would help encourage participation. Senator Stein went and scoured pages and found one. Well, let me give you two more. Senator Tillman alluded to this idea. I've talked to people, I know you have as well. You talk to them on the campaign trail, you talk to them in your community, and you ask, they say, "That's great, it's nice to meet you, but I really don't intend to vote." And you ask why, and they say, "I don't think my vote's going to count. Why should I spend the time doing it?" When we increase the integrity of the election, when people say, "I've got an ID, I go in, it is who I say I am, and the person in front of me and behind me and everywhere else, the person voting is who it says it is," that gives them confidence, it gives them the encouragement to go and vote. I say you disenfranchise people by the discouragement of saying we have an electoral process that has a lack of integrity. I say that this encourages people to vote, and we see the evidence in other states with photo ID, and it encourages people to vote. The second thing, a term I'll call fractional disenfranchisement. What happens here is, I'll give you an example. Every time you have someone who votes fraudulently, you diminish everybody else's vote who voted. You believe in one person, one vote. A fraudulent vote makes your vote less than one person. I'll give you a small statistical example to illustrate the point. If you have 10 people voting, each person has 10% participation. If one person votes twice or fraudulently, you go now 11 people, that gives you a 9% participation. Every fraudulent vote, which we heard dismissively, there's only 40 or 50, that's kind of like blindfolding someone in a crowd, them swinging their arms around saying, hey, there's only 5 people in this crowd because that's all there is. That's what happens when you don't have an open process, when you don't have something to be able to look at and say, here's how we have integrity in our electoral process. I say, let's encourage people to vote with integrity, with voter ID, and I say, let's every vote count because they're not being fractionally disenfranchised with fraudulent votes. Thank you.